Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Date is August 1st, 2025. Location is my apartment home here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Background is provided by courtesy of green screen technology. So you're not actually seeing my room, you're seeing something else. Ladies and gentlemen, a belief in the value, I extol the virtues of a belief in the value of the most optimistic myths. The most optimistic myths are ideas. Ideas are thoughts, beliefs, and expectations about the totality. The totality exists. For that reason, we are part of the totality. The totality is everything, everywhere, at all times. I extol the virtues of a belief in the value of the most optimistic myths. Myths are unverifiable and unfalsifiable. We can use our senses and perceptions. We can not verify whether or not myths are true. We cannot verify whether or not myths are false. Myths are both unverifiable and unfalsifiable. Believe in the value of the most optimistic myths, and I extol the virtues of a belief in the value of the most optimistic myths. Virtues of a belief in the value of the most optimistic myths are happiness, good health, and prosperity. Now, we live in a world where people say they want to be happy, right? They want to be happy, say they want to be happy. They aren't willing to do the things necessary to be happy. They aren't willing to give up their belief in the value of pessimistic myths. Why? Why are they unwilling to give up their belief in the value of pessimistic myths? Well, I've given many explanations for this. One has to do with projection theory. Some people believe in the value of pessimistic myths. These people tend to project. They project truths about our set of living arrangements into their mythology about the spiritual realm. They tend to project truths about their set of living arrangements here on the material plane into their imaginations and embrace or even make myths about pessimistic myths about the spiritual realm. And these pessimistic myths about the spiritual realm suggest truths about their certain set of living arrangements here on the material plane. And why do they tend to do this? Because they want to be able to use their senses and perceptions to confirm their belief in the value of their ideas, the value of their values. Let's say that. Now, they believe in the value of truths, and their senses and perceptions enable them. They are able to confirm truths are true. Therefore, they're able to use their senses and perceptions to confirm their belief in the value of truths. But myths are both unverifiable and unfalsifiable. They can use their senses and perceptions, but they cannot verify whether or not myths are true. They cannot verify whether or not myths are false. And for that reason, and we're talking about today, are people who believe in the value of pessimistic myths. For that reason, they are unable to use their senses and perceptions to confirm their belief in the value of myths. However, myths can suggest truths about their set of living arrangements here on the material plane. And the act of suggesting truths is enough for some people to confirm their belief in the value of these pessimistic myths. That's, in essence, that's projection theory. And it's a very powerful way of looking at various aggressive ideological traditions that have come down to us, that have survived the test of time. You know, aggressive ideological traditions that originated before the establishment of ancient paternalistic theocracies. It's an interesting way to, analyze aggressive ideological traditions that came down to us through the eons of time, thousands of years. And what I found is there's usually their myths tend to mirror truths about our set of living arrangements. And then this also applies to their predictions about the future, their prophecies. It applies to that as well. And really you can determine from their prophecies what it is that they're going to end up trying to do as communities of faithful believers. They want to try to cause these prophecies to come true because they're being told by religious authority figures that a great big reward awaits them after the prophecies come true. And in terms of eschatology, study of theology is study of God, right? And then eschatology is a branch of theology having to do with how the world's going to come to an end. And even their myths pertaining to the eschatology can be looked at as projections of truths about our set of living arrangements. For example, well, there's many people about who are proclaiming that these are the end times. Let's suppose. There are people proclaiming, communities of faithful believers proclaiming these are the end times. Well, what do we have going on in the world right now? Population overshoot, and this is due to what? Our behaviors, our racist, fascist, warmongering behaviors, and the introduction of medical science. Another interesting topic for us to discuss. Another interesting topic. The undead. Should the undead be reproducing? Interesting question. We're going to save that for another episode, though. I'm going to stick to what we were talking about here. That we have population overshoot, pollution, abrupt climate change, habitat loss, and wars over dwindling resources and these activities, these racist, fascist, warmongering behaviors expressed towards outsiders. What are they really, though? What are they really? They're really an expression of the sorrow, fear, and anger that people hold within their hearts. And these people believe in the value of pessimistic myths. They hold within their hearts. It's a expression of that towards outsiders. Right. These behaviors. And again, what kind of a world do we get when everybody's treating everybody else like an outsider? We get a world war, right? World war going on all the time. Everybody treating everybody else like an outsider. And therefore, what we get is a world in a state of disease, a body in a state of disease. So it's far better to think that we are soul children, Mother God and Father Love. This individuality is just a dream. There's only we.